New Zealand comprises two main islands, with many smaller ones around its coastline. Set remotely in a sparkling South Pacific, this was the last substantial landmass to be settled by man. It is situated some 1,500 kilometres to the east of Australia, across the Tasman Sea. During Captain Cook's first visit, whilst anchored a quarter of a mile offshore in Queen Charlotte Sound, botanist Joseph Banks noted, in January of 1770, that the dawn chorus was the most melodious wild music he'd ever heard. It was apparent that Cook was charting the waters around a land of remarkable birds. 100 million years ago, a great southern continent began to drift apart. The islands that would become New Zealand would separate, and unlike almost anywhere else, the land would become dominated by birds. Isolation would produce a unique flora and fauna. And for those of us who have spent most of our lives in the northern hemisphere, the results can seem extraordinary, especially when set against a remarkable geology. Less than 1,000 years ago, Polynesians arrived on the islands, and along with them came dogs and rats. Nothing here was equipped to deal with the new predators, and the first settlers rapidly hunted 9 species of the large flightless moa to extinction, and a number of other bird species would quickly disappear. By 1840, European settlers were beginning to arrive, bringing more pests that would continue to trouble native birds. The new arrivals showed little concern for native forest, felling most of the lowland areas and replacing the trees with an alien environment, sheep pasture. The first sheep arrived in 1850, and their numbers peaked during the early 1980s, at over 70 million, at a time when the human population was around 3.5 million. There are less than half as many sheep today, but cattle numbers have steadily increased. On the Waikato, where my family and I are about to live, large areas have been given over to pasture. This is a desert for most native species. New Zealand has around 4 million beef cattle and 6 million dairy, and they are on the increase, especially on the South Island. In many lowland areas, you might wonder where all the trees have gone. Few have been left for shelter, and often these are non-natives. It looks as if the Europeans missed home so much, they brought it with them. To escape the blandness, we will live on the foothills of Porongia Mountain, where remnant forest meets pasture. The mountain is a reserve, and many birds will move down to the lowland areas at the onset of winter. And if we can feed the visitors, some might remain, and even rear young here. We buy land close by a gully forest and build a house. We have chosen a spur of natural bush, below which there is little else but pasture. If we can encourage the birds to stay, we will have created a small reserve for the commoner species, many of which are in decline. My family and I plan to live remote but not isolated. We are only half an hour from the city, but this is the point where the tar seal, the electricity and the telephone line run out. My name is Stephen Bolwell. I'm a zoologist, wildlife filmmaker and a painter. On weekends I go with my family to visit the mountain reserve. Coming from England, the plants are very different from what we are used to. The children call it Jurassic Park, but without the dinosaurs. It is the 31st of August 2002, and we are disappointed to find pellets of 1080 everywhere. There has been an aerial poison drop to control possum, which are said to spread TB in cattle. This poison will kill many mammal pests. In fact, it will kill anything that eats it. Whether it be pests or poison, the bush is devoid of birdsong. We are, it seems, living on a silent mountain.